Let me ask you just about your, your off-stage life. What do you do mostly? I mean, in your spare time. What are your interests?
In sports, mess around. I go swimming all the time. Like swimming, and play basketball, catching lizards and things, just messing around.
We're gonna have a pillow fight.
You gonna take us having a pillow fight?
You're in the jacket.
Hey, I got Tito with me. We're gonna take against y'all.
You're in the jacket.
Family of law, my second family.
Attack!
Since he was 3 and I was 5, and so being around him was just normal.
Michael never had that sense of freedom to go and do and run and jump unless it was on some private property someplace. And you have to remember when you're 9 years old, 10 years old, it's like very early to lose all sense of freedom.
My father started rehearsals every day after school. Other kids would be outside playing and they would tease us, oh, you're doing this, you're not gonna get nowhere, you're not gonna, but we just rehearsed every day.
We moved the table because it was a small house the size of a 2-car garage, and we would pull all our stuff out and we'd be rehearsing and the doorbell would ring and there'd be a neighbor across the street. But can they come out to play? And I said, no, not today. We have a show that we're practicing.
You don't get to do things that other children get to do. The simple things that they so much take for granted. Having friends and slumber parties and buddies and just hanging out. There was none of that for me. I didn't have any friends when I was little. My brothers were my friends. And that is why I think now, because I didn't have it then, I compensate for that.
Really?
I mean, when people wonder why I always have children around, because I find the thing that I never had through them. Disneyland, amusement parks, arcade games. I adore all that stuff because when I was little, it was always work, 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 from one concert to the next. If it wasn't concert, it was the recording studio. If it wasn't that, it was TV, which I'm not complaining. There's lots of rehearsal, and you have to put a lot of your time, give of yourself.
My heart ached for him because I remember the joy that he had mixing with his little friends. But it was so short-lived. He didn't have time to be a child. He just had to leave all of that behind and go to the serious part of life, And that really bothered me because I felt that that's the way you learn so much about your relationships, is how you play.
My research and understanding of Michael, it appears that he surrounded himself with children because they saw a friend. Adults saw dollar signs. Opportunities. What do you think his mindset towards surrounding himself with children? Was it exactly that? He saw people that weren't going to take advantage, screw him over.
It was beyond that. It was living vicariously through people. He didn't have a childhood. He was in studio all the time, He would ask us, me and my brothers, he would say, when we talked to him about a birthday party, he would be so intrigued. He'd be like, what was it like?
You often seem very lonely, even though you're so talented. Is that true?
It's better than it used to be. I used to
sit in my hotel room and just cry just by myself. Because you can't get out. There's fans everywhere and helicopters and press following you. And now that I've had my children, it's helped a lot. But still it comes and goes.
And loneliness is in there.
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
I think it comes from being overprotected too much. From a little kid all the way up. I would love to walk down the street or just walk on the beach. I'm not trying to make a complaint because I love show business and I love entertainment and I love making people happy. But there's times I want to be just normal too. I never get to know what people are really like because when they see me, they change. They're not themselves anymore. They become someone else. Oh my God, I love your music. I love your songs. Oh my God. You never get to really hear the real thing, you know. And that's why I love putting on disguises. I'll sit on a bench at Disneyland, a fat suit with a mustache and buck teeth and pop bottle glasses and like a little small afro. I just sit there and I love it. I learned so much. Watching people, studying people's characters. And that's what I enjoy.
If we look, for example, at a trip to Moscow to try and do something that any tourist would do, all he wants to do is to have a look at Red Square. Again, there's this frenzy that surrounds him, and he's thwarted in the most simple and innocent of ambitions.
Since he was about 6 years of age, he has never known any normality as you or I would know it.
We made him that famous. We kept taking pieces of him. You know, we kept saying, no, Michael, you can't have no family. No, Michael, you know, you can't go over there and eat. No, Michael, you can't go to the movie. No, Michael, with every time we made him a little bit more and a little bit more famous and kept clamoring, you know, I want a piece of you. Yes, we loved him, and we still do love him, you know, but look what we did.
Stardom is something that a lot of people dream about, and it seems a very easy life. In fact, it's a very lonely life. Lots of temptations and the ability to make people paranoid as they're looking at others around them and saying, well, what do you want out of me? Why are you coming to me with this offer? What's in it for you? And a lot of hangers-on and what have you.
I just watched a lot of things about him. I think, you know, somebody once reflected and said, you know, what Michael went through as a child, he had to grow up so fast that he related to what you went through as a child. And I think he, in a way, he was trying to protect you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got something that was kind of profound. Did you feel that's true?
he reached out to me because a lot of things were happening, like, you know, big and fast with me. And I think he identified with that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost easy to try to say, oh, it was like weird or whatever, but it wasn't, because it made sense. Like we were legitimate. Like, here's the thing: at the end of the day, we were friends in the most simple.
And he was a child
kind of,
in many ways too. He didn't.
But also, like, we were just like. It's like one of my friendships that people question only because of the fact that he was the most famous person in the world. Like, you know, I was a peerless person. You know, I was like, like nobody else in my Catholic school even had like this much idea of what I was going through, you know, or what and like he was the kind of person who'd like, been through the exact same freaking thing and wanted to make sure that like I wasn't alone in that kind of,
Was he fun?
He was awesome. He was hilarious. He was sweet. And like, people didn't know how funny he was.
See, I envy you that.
I think that's one of the reasons also why we got along, is that like everyone's always thoroughly impressed by him, and so the fact there was somebody who was kind of just like treated him like a normal person, was kind of just like, it was that simple. Was that like
he seems like a very like the most generous person.
Yeah,
too.
he was generous. He was gentle.
I was his only little chocolate drop. And I was dating Michael back then. I thought I was going to marry Michael. You know what I want to say? Michael was very much a man. And he was very loving. He was very caring. Michael is a great kisser. I've kissed him. He's a great kisser.
Wait a minute. No, in the video we're going to see later, we're premiering the world video, but you say there's a line where you talk about being quenched. So what kind of person does that for you?
Quenched my desire.
Yeah, quenched my desire.
Yeah. Well, Brooke, I've always liked her. And I mean, when I was little, I used to stay with Diana Ross. Me and my brothers, we stayed with her for years. And I never said this, I always had a crush on her.
You did?
Yes.
Jermaine, what do you like about girls?
I like girls that are quiet with nice, pretty brown eyes.
Right on, brother.
That are not too loud. And, sort of shy, but not shy, but
Yeah,
you know,
like
not
shy.
sweet and
Yeah, that's how I
smart and bright.
I agree 100%, brother. How about you, Michael?
Well, I like their legs big. And I like them with pretty big eyes. And, let me see what else I like about gals.
How about their personality, Mike?
Yeah, I like their personality. Yeah, that's one thing I like about it. What do you like, Jackie?
Well, I like girls mostly on the... Michael, how about you?
Well, I like the Temps too, and I like the Supremes, and I like the Four Tops. I like Miss Ross, Diana Ross.
Michael, when he spent time with Diana Ross with The Wiz, he always had this admiration for Diana Ross when he was young. And I think it got to a point where he really loved her and he really liked her, still to this day. And she was just this dream for him. And he had this ongoing just a fascination for her. He loved her.
Yeah,
And I
right.
slept between him and Michael.
Really?
In the bunk bed, in the middle
Yeah.
bunk.
That's why you can swim now?
That's how I learned how to swim. So Tito and Jermaine were in the top bunk, Marlon, Michael, and I were in the middle bunk, and Jackie
At the bottom.
at the bottom.
There were only 2 bedrooms in the whole house.
And the bed was 4 deep, stacked.
Three deep. We had a room
3 deep
three.
and one that slid off from the bottom. That's right.
And the girls slept on the sofa couch in the living room. So that's.
What do you like best when we're on the road, Mom?
I like to eat.
That's
One of my
thing.
favorites. And I like to sleep.
Just eat and sleep.
And play.
You're lazy.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike?
Well, I like staying in hotels. And when we get off stage, I like to order a lot of pops and have fun, watch TV, and go to bed.
Do you guys get time off, time to yourselves?
Sure, we have free time. We just mess around in the hotel, go buy food, and
Do you like snowman or dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. No. Here's a fun book for you to look at while I read this. I'm going to find my dinosaur book. I have a wonderful Do you? I have this wonderful story about whatever happened to the dinosaurs. What do you think happened? Michael, what do you think happened to them? To who? The dinosaurs.
In general?
Yeah, what happened to them? Where'd they go?
I think with extinction they died off.
They died? What do you think?
A meteor hit the earth and the sun, and like everything dried up the sun, so they died.
Wow. Very profound, yes?
Like they froze.
Oh. What do you think?
I think there was an
Bobby.
heat and they died.
Oh. And what do you think happened?
I think when they saw Michael, they screamed.
Well, let's find out. Let's find out.
Aldo's getting mad at you.
Let's find out. He's so good with it.
The very, very beginning. The Jacksons do indeed stir up an audience into a frenzy. So comes the ultimate test to the Jackson security people. And most anyone who knows him will tell you Michael's real reward comes from his audience, the fans. They trail his every step.
The people would find out where we were staying and they would be there. We've had the management of the Marriott Hotel in Philadelphia ask us to please bring them downstairs to get 5,000 girls out of the lobby, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
He lived on the run. He was never allowed to be a kid. He poured his whole life into performing. And one day he's 21 years old, and you realize that he probably hasn't seen another person his age, outside of his own family, who wasn't 20 feet away screaming at him.
The guards and the police, they made a long line so we can walk through, and we walked through it all, everybody just caved in on us. And I had on a tie and they were choking me this way and that. And I lost my shoe. And
That'll get the boys higher and higher.
yeah.
Well, somewhere in England there's a little lady walking around with handfuls of hair, right? She might...
Always amazed me. You know, I've watched you grow, everybody has. Do you remember any time in your whole life when you weren't performing?
Well, not really.
No.
We've always performed.
Yeah.
Even when we were small kids.
Yeah. But you don't miss then not ever having had what they call an average childhood? Like
No, not really.
No.
We get to do things kids do in the neighborhood and everything.
And being such a large family, you play off of each other. What would you do if you had a vacation? I mean, a real vacation where you could just get off and away from singing and anything that looked like work? What would you do?
What would I do? I really don't know.
You've never really done it.
In my life, I really had one vacation, and that was last Christmas. Outside of that, let me think what I did. I just stayed home. I watched television. I read a lot.
Well, that's a treat. I mean, you know, that's a vacation when you have to go, when you're on the go all the time.
Because, we travel all the time anyway, in different countries.
Just to get to stay home and paint. I know you paint beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You have the responsibility, and so have your brothers, of acting like performers and stars all the time. Does that ever get you down or worry you?
Not really. We enjoy it because we've been doing it so long as a part of our personalities. And
but so many other young people look up to you.
Yes, that's important for us to set a good example because so many people watch us, and we try to do our best all the time. That's important.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, all of you seem to have a nice balance and a warm relationship, and I'm sure
We grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses, and my mother and them didn't want to, well, it was against the beliefs to have Christmas and celebrate holidays and everything. So Michael and I would find ourselves just looking out the windows and the snow's falling and we're singing Christmas carols and we're looking at the neighbors' homes and they're all lit up and all the fun and the joy. When Michael became, in the later years of his life, when he had purchased Neverland, the whole place was lit up like Christmas and he had a Christmas tree in the house every day.
Still stand behind him in terms of sharing his bed with children at Neverland. And I know there's some people that disagree with that. So why do you think that's normal behavior for a grown man?
I'll explain to you. Michael gave his bed to not just the little boys, their mothers, their daughters, and he slept on the floor. And see, you have to look at the fact that he was this child who grew up in a house as small as a two-car garage, and we all slept in bunk beds. So psychologically, he's just replaying that through his mind. He looked at kids from a child's eyes, and adults looked at him from adult eyes, and they had a problem with it. We all had sleepovers when we were young, and nothing came across about abuse. It was the way we were raised, the old-fashioned standards.
That's more, but that's more cultural. I don't think people understand that. You know, in our community, you got play cousins, you got step cousins, you got, you know, friends that you bring over, and the family adopts them. Can you just explain, you know, what was the difference between that and someone that he didn't know? He just invited over.
Well, these are people who became close to him. And there were many, many, many other cases, hundreds of people sleeping there, and they trusted Michael with their kids. It's just these things were motivated because of money. There were 2 cases that they picked out, and they knew all the facts, and the media knew the difference, but they didn't want to report it.
Sometimes sleeping in Michael's huge bed, this notion that he had a normal-sized bed is absurd. We proved that parents, siblings, all would sack out on Michael's bed. It was almost like a communal thing.
It's hard. It's so difficult. I can't tell you how hard it is. You're judged. Everybody judges you. You really are. No matter what you do, you're judged. Why is Michael Jackson coming over our house? Why would he want to be with us? Why would you want to be somewhere? You want to be with someone. And you're watched and you're judged. And it's why? You know, and it's like, leave me alone. I just want to try to fit in, you know?
So we've reached the point in this video where I'm going to ask you to imagine and put yourself in the shoes of Michael Jackson. And, you know, he said something very interesting. Before you judge me, try hard to love me. So let's try to understand his mindset. I want you to imagine from the age of 5, when you get home from school, that you get straight into rehearsals. And your little friends from the block, they don't get to see you that often. And by the age of 9 or maybe 10, you get the break that you've all been longing for, and your lives go into an entirely new routine. You have 3 hours with your tutor, and then after that, you have either rehearsals or a studio session or probably a television interview or maybe a concert. And then after that, because of your fame, you can't really go anywhere. You're not that free. So you get to go straight back to the hotel room and hang out with your brothers, who, remember, are your only friends. Your brothers play around, have pillow fights, watch TV, and basically stay cooped up. And that goes on all the way into your teens, your 20s, your 30s. And on top of that, remember, you're painfully shy. So on one end, there is a kind of personal sacrifice. But on the other end, you're enjoying professional success. Hey, you've even been recognized as the biggest selling artist and are in the Guinness Book of World Records. You've broken racial barriers, and your contributions to music, dance, fashion are being recognized globally. If you thought you were popular before, hang on to your seats. You're being launched into an entirely different stratosphere. But it doesn't matter. On the other end, there is still that sense of family life and stability at home with your brothers, who, remember, are your buddies. But one by one, every one of them start to leave. Jermaine, Jackie, Tito, Marlon, one by one, they're all leaving home and starting their own families. And as they leave one by one, your sense of stability starts to go with them. But Michael, remember, you're painfully shy. You're kind of socially awkward. You have a hard time making friends. And on top of that, people who are your age mates are basically freaking out every time they see you, or there is that sense of suspicion. What do they want from you? So there you are at home, and the house is getting emptier and emptier. Yeah, sure, there's baby Janet and LaToya and your mom and dad, as well as Randy, but it's not really the same as that bond that you had with your brothers, who are your friends. But they're also getting on with their own lives. Every one of them wants to live up to your dreams. Remember, you've already achieved such high honors. You've been included in the Guinness Book of World Records with the biggest selling album, and even have your star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and on and on. So yeah, for the most part, you're alone. So what do? You'd like to do the things that you used to, but you can't because they're all busy and the others have left home. You can't just show up to your brother's house that he's trying to build with his new wife and family and, kind of end up having a pillow fight. And there is that aspect of ego. I'm sure you don't want to look like you have nothing going on in your personal life. So what do? You try to make new friends, those that share your interests at that very moment. And guess who that is? They're other young people. Yeah, children. Remember, you're trying to hold on to what you feel is leaving you. All the stuff that you want to stay the same and that remind you of a happier time in your life. And you're trying to recreate them. You try and build that world around you, or as he said, he tries to recreate his past. So how are you doing right now? So you indeed seek to find those who share the same interests as you. But at the same time, I want you to remember something. You are socially awkward. In your own words, you find it kind of awkward to be around everyday people. So yes, you do surround yourself with children who you feel you can trust. They don't want money from you. They have no stories to sell. And an added bonus, they do share your interests. And you don't have to worry about that suspicious feeling that you get when you're around people who are, grown up. You just feel like children, they only want a friend. So a couple of years later, you get a chance to move out and build your dream home. And as everyone else does when they get means, and I'm talking, you are super rich at this point, a megastar, so you can afford to build the house of your dreams. And what do? You put in it everything that you would ever dream of. That's what anyone does when they get a chance to build their dream home. You fill it with everything that you ever wanted as a kid, as well as bring forth some things from your past that you'd like to hold on to. So in this amazing place called Neverland, you fill it with rides, you fill it with everything, and it has an amazing atmosphere, like an amusement park. You've built this amazing house with all these wonderful rides, and you can't just go on them alone. The place just can't be empty. Have you ever been to an amusement park after hours? It seems like a ghost town. Some things are better enjoyed in company of others. And what next is your next logical move? So what do? You obviously bring out your friends and family, as well as the new friends that you're making, to have fun with you in this wonderful place you've built, who are able to and are big enough to go on the rides, to have fun along with you. And you even go a step further. You bus in kids from the inner cities, those who are impoverished, and you enjoy through them what you didn't have. And all of a sudden, Neverland lights up with laughter, and who can play with you. Those are all things that Michael Jackson never had, but now he finally gets a chance. And he celebrates the holidays like Christmas, which he wasn't allowed to growing up. And if you're gonna be honest, he said, before you judge me, try hard to love me. Don't you realize, if you're being totally honest with yourself, that up to this point, as you put yourself in Michael's shoes, you are better able to understand some of the decisions that he has made. You're hanging out with your little buddies, you're playing video games, eating ice cream, playing in the amusement parks, celebrating holidays, just hanging out and having fun. And in them, you are somehow satisfied seeing them enjoy a childhood that you never got to have. So are his steps logical thus far? If you're being honest, the answer is yes. As for your bedroom, remember, it's not a small place. It's like an entire apartment. And remember what he used to do as a young kid growing up. He was very secluded and sheltered because of his fame. It was always straight back to the hotel room or back to his home, and they would hang out in that space. So even if they went into his bedroom, which, remember, at this moment seems like an apartment, and we are talking specifically about Michael Jackson, put yourself in his shoes. You'll only hang out and watch TV and eat popcorn and have fun. And yeah, maybe some of them fell asleep. They say it was nothing touchy-feely. They were just all watching TV and having fun. Remember, for Michael, the bedroom was just a place to hang out. There was nothing sinister about it. It was just a place to hang out. And remember here, you're specifically talking about Michael Jackson. So put yourself in his shoes with his specific circumstances and let me know if you're going to be honest. Given his exact same circumstances, is it possible to see how he made those exact same decisions? Is it somehow logical? Do you have a better understanding into his mind? And if you're going to be honest with yourself, having followed through and put yourself in the shoes of Michael Jackson, then you realize his decisions aren't all that strange after all. Just think about it. Remember, before you judge me, he said, try hard to love me.